welcome to another episode of Culture Shock. I am your host, Ricardo Picena, aka the Meditating Cowboy, and today's topic is self-awareness. It's our podcast number 6. If you've been following my podcast, you know that this is going to be first podcasts. Like, I don't know if I have another one. I think today is the last one that it's going to be my foundational. So I've been making podcasts on things that I practice on the daily and that I feel like has helped me. I feel like that's why I even give myself the permission to record these podcasts and put myself here, because I feel like I've been through the shit and I'm solely speaking through experience. I do have some ideas and topics that I've not experienced and that I've not looked deep into, but it's just one of those things. You have to just think of plans and ideas, in my opinion, and that's was one of them. So if you've been following me since the beginning, our intention and mission for this podcast is to empower each other through the sharing of information, which is something we've always done. And I started off with both the human nature, both spiritual and physical part of who we are, excuse me, while also trying to touch on sensitive topics. But what I realized, I need to lay down my foundation. So only on the first one, it was just about ego and racism. And after that one, I realized, you know what? I need to lay down the foundation. I need to let people know who I am, which actually I didn't even know that, because somebody told me, it's like, hey, you didn't put any background. You didn't put any background there. You didn't tell us this. I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry. But see, this is what I love about community, about information sharing. They're sharing information with me. They're letting me know I'm fucking up, and I reassessed myself and I got back on track. And I thank you for that. And yeah, I'm after this podcast, I feel like I'm done laying down my foundation. For me, I feel like I'm very basic, and that's I have very few things I really believe in. And but yeah, self-awareness is today's podcast topic. And I think after this, I'm just going to express myself freely. I feel like I have innovative ideas and beliefs. And I also am going to talk about my lifestyle, my journey, the shit that I go through. Of course, I feel like since I'm a human, and anybody who listens to this and understands it ultimately might be a human and can benefit by sharing my experience. Like, hey, I did this shit, turns out it's not so good. Or hey, I did this shit, turned out it's good. And of course, keep in mind the context and the dialogue that we're talking about. Like, always do that. Like, if you want to grow your mind, always keep in mind that person's context and dialogue and intention overall. It's like, are they really trying to talk shit to you, or are they really trying to help you? You know what I mean? Shit like that. That's part of self-awareness. And I'm going to be touching on taboo subjects for sure. And I'm going to be interviewing people. I already talked to a couple of my friends. I'm so excited. My buddy Lester, he's a really good fucking friend of mine. I feel like he's literally like my brother, like my soul brother. Like we just know each other like so well. And it's so crazy. It's like I know who he really is, and I know he knows who I really am. And it's like, if I don't know. Let me get back on track. So the podcast topic is self-awareness. The definition of self-awareness is conscious knowledge of one's own characters, feelings, motives, and desires. Not to be confused with self-conscious, which is feeling undue of oneself. And the difference, in my opinion, is because self-conscious is like, when I become self-conscious, I'm like, oh man, I don't feel like worthy, or I'm like, you don't feel like you're part of it. So you kind of go into yourself. You're just like, hold back, you get a little shy. Hey, I don't want to. And that happens to me. I've noticed when I do that. Sometimes it happens when I'm recording my podcast, and then I have to pause it and then start all over. Usually it's right in the beginning. Once I'm started, I'm all in. Like, I don't re-record it. Not maybe I'm lazy, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I'm lazy. I just think if people take my context, dialogue, and intention, and they can hear what I said, they'll understand. Like my last podcast, I had some friends over. I don't know if they were going to show up, but you can kind of hear them in the background. So I was like, and I heard it, but I didn't think you can just barely hear some stuff in the background, but you can still hear me. So that kind of made me a little self-conscious. I was like, oh man, it's like, I don't think, like, I'm gonna fuck up my podcast. But then, of course, self-awareness, you're conscious and knowing of your feelings, motives, and desires. I know my motive, and I'm like, I try to put myself in other people's shoes. I wouldn't make a big deal. If somebody, it's like really caring and trying, I wouldn't make a big deal. I'd be like, oh, they just had somebody in the background. That to me is using your self-awareness kind of to your advantage. And which also, I feel like a lot of the issue when people are self-aware is if they're not actually trying to make a positive conscious effort, they're kind of taking advantage of other people because they are aware that they can. And that's why I love sharing this, because I want to make people more aware, the fact that they can even be more aware of themselves. I think that's awesome, because now it's less likely that somebody's going to take advantage of you, or try to get one over you, because that's all kind of self-awareness is like just surviving and making sure you don't get taken advantage of. And now I feel as humanity is evolving, and this is me speaking from personal experience, I feel like as I'm evolving, I'm no longer just feeding my selfish side, I'm trying to feed my selfless side. I can truly feel like our next step of evolution is to become aware that we are the awareness, the self-awareness of each, and each individual has their own way they see each other, which goes back to my very first podcast, the ego, which is, to me, is the same thing as self-awareness. You are your ego. You are the way you see yourself. And I think since egos has a different, like in psychology, it's viewed as one self-image. But if you're just talking like regular, in my opinion, small talk, you're just really just trying to make somebody self-conscious that they're very prideful of themselves. I've experienced that a lot. Believe me, I think y'all know I'm very prideful of myself, but I don't think I'm better than others. I think that's what's different. I might think I'm better than others in some area, but I don't go around poking people, hey, and I think that's what's different, because everybody's good at something. You know what I mean? I truly believe that everybody's good at something. And allow me to add context to that in dialogue, or put it in a context with some dialogue, because I think, okay, say somebody's really good at football. They're obviously getting paid millions. I'm not a big fan of sports. I love sports, playing them, but I'm not watching them. So say, who's famous right now? I don't know, some famous, the cowboy, Ezekiel, I don't know, he got paid a lot of money, that guy. Okay, so obviously he's good at something and he's getting rewarded for that, right? I think the action of him doing his football stuff, that's greatness. You know what I mean? He's obviously good at something. That's why he's getting paid for that much. He's good at something. But the same thing applies for somebody who feels real sorry for themselves, somebody who's very depressed. They are really good at that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to add. Everybody's good at something, and you don't need to say, hey, I'm better than you, to actually show me that you're good at something. At least speaking for me, if I can speak to people and I can automatically pick what they're good at, because I love to find out what people are good at. I love that. I like to see the good in them and ultimately the best that they have. And sometimes it is not good from like a happy point of view. Sometimes it's not good that they're really good at being depressed. Like if I see that, I normally feel bad. I try to empathize. I try to let them know I'm there for them. And but also I can only do that for so long. You can't fix somebody. I don't want to waste my time. I also don't beat myself up if I can't help somebody. If somebody's like being like not willing to learn, and I can tell, I'll allow myself to suffer a few times from the anguish of not helping them, and then I pull myself back, and then I bring it to their attention, like, look, I've been trying to do this, and I've been trying to practice unconditional love, and it's been hurting me trying to do both, trying to unconditionally love you and also try to help you. Because if I unconditionally love you, I would just let you be, but I also know you're suffering, so I can't let you do that. So that's always going to happen. So, and the reason I'm saying that too is because I want to make sure people don't ever beat yourselves up for not meeting your own expectations. But you have to hold yourself accountable for your own things that you want. That's ultimately, that's self-awareness. It's being responsible for everything you do, say, think, put out. That's the ultimate self-awareness, apparently, to be able to observe yourself and everything without judgment. But I think you also have to kind of make a judgment of it. So that's the contradiction that exists. That's the polarity of life. There's not one way. Like me sitting here explaining this self-awareness, it's not the only way, and it's not the only theory, the only ideas. The point is to be aware that there is an awareness, and you, the individual, gets to choose what information comes in. What do you value will ultimately shape who you are and build your self-awareness. Like everything ties together. It's what I'm basically ultimately trying to say. That self-awareness is knowing that everything is connected and you are going to contradict yourself. That's what the human experience is. Oh man, it's so crazy. Like to piece everything, to explain that you are the energy, the spirit, the consciousness, whatever you believe. Those are all those things that I just said are the same thing. It's the same thing. And the reason I want to let y'all know that too is because language shapes perception. If you think, oh, well, I'm the spirit. If you're very religious, you're like, oh, I am the spirit. And then you understand exactly what I'm saying. Now, if you're like so deep into science, you'd be like, oh, I am the energy or the awareness. Then you understand exactly what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to ultimately say, is that we're all in similar paths, using different context, dialogues, and language to ultimately try to reach the same goal: happiness and or fulfillment in life. Either fulfillment through your, oh, I just want to feel really sorry for myself and be depressed, and you're somehow, that is fulfillment for yourself, and you don't even know, because that's just how the human body works. There's two things at play: the spiritual aspect and the human aspect. Those are always at play. So if you're like trying to take pride in being depressed or not being able to get out of a rut, then if I'm practicing unconditional love, I have to let you do that. But if I care for you, if I met you personally and we connected, it's going to be really hard for me not to say something, because I've been in a state of depression and I know it's different for everyone, but I feel like you can get out. And it's all about self-awareness. It's like, be aware of yourself. How what you say ultimately will shape your reality, will shape. Now we have evidence that epigenetics says that the cell changes by thought alone. So it's like, wow, that's so much power. And for more information on epigenetics, research Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza. Yeah, this is some innovative science that's been coming out. And another thing about self-awareness, it is said to reach the highest form of self-awareness, you really have to accept yourself, and which means with everything you come with our feelings, the lessons or failures we've had, our successes, our everything. You must accept yourself. It's not a matter of just knowing. Like me talking all this shit, saying all this, and you actually understanding it's not enough. You know what I mean? It's not enough knowing. You actually have to put it into action. And I think that's what it means. You have to accept yourself. There's an action to accepting yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean a physical action from the outside. You probably won't see it. It's internal. And it might be even on a spiritual level, or in a self-reflecting level. And obviously it is, because everything's connected. But I think it's up to you to find out how, find your own truth. So, and for me, why do I want to do all this? It's ultimately to eliminate unnecessary suffering. Unnecessary suffering. I know suffering is always going to exist because the end of this human experience is death. That to me is it's dreadful. So it only makes sense for me to be super optimistic because, like I said before, we're gonna croak, y'all. Unfortunately, so I guess I accepted death already as a part of life, and I think that's why I can freely feel that way. Because I know some people are scared of death. You should be. Maybe. I don't know. It's always up to you. But I don't know. I don't think you really should. But if you want to, you should be. Because that's your truth. That's your path. That's your journey. And whenever you're ready to let that go, if you're ever ready to let that go, then you shall. So all this, of course, is just me expressing myself. This is my journey. This is the stuff that I believe because I've put some into practice. And ultimately, I want to let y'all know, do not beat yourself up if you don't even practice your own philosophy. But you, now coming from P, you need to put your shit to work. But coming from the spirit, enjoy the human experience. Man. But yeah, I think as we go through this journey, we have to remember to love ourselves. Think about it. Like, think about all the shit that's happened to, if not you, people dying of cancer. People, like I have friends get ran over, die. Like I have so many friends that I love. Like, oh, I done suffered a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I've suffered a lot. Like, and not to say that my suffering's any better than anybody else, but I've suffered enough for me to understand that I do this ultimately to try to eliminate as much suffering as possible. And with understanding that may never be reached, but why not try? Like I said, we know we're gonna die. Why not try to be happy? Why not try to be a change? Why not try to make your mom and dad a little bit proud, even if you don't want to do the things that they want you want to do? You know what I mean? Maybe try to compromise. I'm speaking for myself. And what I do, or actually how I feel my self-awareness started increasing, was really from being self-conscious. I think I made a podcast. I'm not sure if I posted it, on just explaining my past. And I am from Dallas, Oak Cliff, and I had a lot of friends over there. I actually had my own little clique. I was not in a gang. I was really cool. I was really cool there. But then I moved to Kaufman, and when in Dallas, we used to wear like a uniform, a white shirt, blue khakis. Everybody wore the same shit. So wearing different shit like clothes was not an issue. But then I moved to Kaufman, where they allowed you to wear whatever, and your boy's still wearing a white shirt and khakis. I had no perception of like that was even an issue. Well, when I moved to Kaufman, they were like, "What are you wearing?" I was like, "What you want me?" Like, I'm wearing my clothes, my school clothes. I was like, "Why does it look like a uniform?" I was like, "It is a uniform." And then there were, of course, I was just getting woke by these kids. I was getting slapped left and right, being made self-conscious. It's like, damn, dude. I was like, why are you looking like a fucking snitch? I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I'm fly. So I didn't think nothing of it. Next day, I go, same. It's not the same clothes, but it's the same color uniform. These motherfuckers were like, you didn't even change your clothes. I was like, what are you talking about? This is another one. And man, from there on out, it changed. That I think that weekend or the next week, I told my parents, I'm like, we're gonna have to get different clothes. I was like, I just don't want to wear these no more. And like, we can wear whatever. I didn't even tell them I never told my parents I got made fun of. Like, I know my parents very well. If I would have told them I was getting made fun of, it would have been worse. You know what I mean? So I was just like, fuck it. I'll figure this out myself. So I started wearing other clothes. But I went to Walmart. We went to Walmart, and your boy's always been really good at picking out clothes. So I picked out really nice clothes, looking clothes. And I thought it looked fly. I did look fly for a while, I got away with it for a month or so. And then, of course, we went out and played. And this girl, I'm not going to name her name. I had a crush on her too. She fucking picks up one of my shoes, I guess looks at the brand, and it was like, oh my God, y'all, he's wearing Fate of Glory. And I didn't think nothing of it then. Like, I had no idea that Walmart clothes was bad. So they made me aware of that too. So they made me self-conscious over all these kids. And I just kind of started going deeper and deeper into myself. Like, and man, I think that's where it started. Because before that, I barely remember anything. All I remember was like having lots of friends in Dallas. I mean, it wasn't so ghetto, not in our street, maybe the streets prior to mine. And I think it was because nobody was really family. Where I stayed, my neighbor up front and the neighbor on the side and the other neighbor, they were all like cool. They were like family. Like two of them were actually legit family. One was just really good with the other family member. And then they had another family member. And I think that little culture of family kind of kept that street a little bit more chill. I don't know, that was just my point of view in there. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that the environment that I grew up in and then got put into really culture shocked the fuck out of me. And I think that's where my self conscious started. And then like my self-awareness was when I started it, or like a friend kind of empowered me to realize that we all have a self-image. And I don't mind sharing this information. Even if nobody listens, I don't even care. Like, I care, but not to the point where I'm like, man, nobody's listening to my podcast. I really don't care that much. Like, I would love for people to, because I feel like it's empowering information. But if they don't, that's the thing. It's like, you don't beat yourself up. You just shut the fuck up and move on. That's it. Like, I don't know. I'm not very rough on myself, I don't think. I feel very happy. I feel successful. I feel purposeful. I feel impactful. Damn, enough about me, huh? But when I say I, and when I'm talking about me, I really need you to think about you, because we are a reflection of each other. And ultimately, I'm always going to be reminding people that every time somebody tries to, let me tell you a story what happened this weekend. I got reminded that I'm not humble. I was like, oh yeah, that I don't humble down. But which reminded me what I think about humbleness. And then, like I was saying earlier, it's the action. Like Zeke, like his action of being a good football player, it's not humble. You know what I mean? Like, somebody being so depressed is not humble. You're showing me that you're really good at being depressed. And see, that's my point of view. I know that's if I ever get put in a spot, I would let them know, hey, this is how I actually could feel too. Like, I can see things the way you're seeing things. And now we're both in the same fucking boat. We're both sinking. How about you help me out and let me know if I'm really harming somebody? Let me know from love. Like, I try to tell people from love. Instead of trying to make me feel self-conscious, because that's only going to trigger my self-awareness, which is only going to trigger me to let you know how ultimately you're not even being humble either by telling me not to be humble. You actually lead by example. And that's how you lead by example. So ultimately, but you can't beat yourself up either. I didn't call him out like that. I was like, you're right. I just said, I know. It just reminded me. I was like, I can be. But I don't think they were saying it in a rude way. But of course, I'm not going to not think about it. I was like, damn, when it did affect me in that way. You have to be self-empowered and take your power and know who you are. This is why some people are more successful than other people. It's because their self-image is a little bit slightly higher. Their confidence is slightly higher. And sometimes you have to build it up yourself, because other people will try to bring it down. They will. I mean, the competition against others is what makes you bitter. Competition against yourself makes you better. Bia! And I do read a lot. I've slowed down recently. I try to do more like practices like yoga, like working out. And then I actually been having to slow down on my greenhouse, on my art, on my practicing the guitar, because I'm just stretching myself out so much. But I just love everything. I just love doing all that stuff. The empowering question of the day. What do y'all think about self-awareness? What do y'all think about all this self-awareness that I've been trying to tell y'all, that all this is self-awareness. It's like expressing yourself is being able to know that you are self-aware. And of course there's different levels, and even if there's a higher level does not mean that they're better. Like I said earlier, we're all really good at something. They might be good at this, but they might be lacking somewhere else. And you might not be as good at that in that level, but you're probably really good at something else. And that's the human experience. We need to accept each other in that way and come to each other in a loving way and create that network of loving individuals, even if we don't fucking believe the same damn thing. God damn it. Sorry. I was just, it's happening a lot. It's hard. It's really hard, y'all. See? That's my weakness there. My strength is also my weakness. I care so much to the point where it's like, but then I remind myself that, like, hey, don't beat yourself up. Then I can back up. It's a roller coaster. Whether I like it or not, it don't matter what I pick in life. It's always going to be a roller coaster. And since I already been practicing self-awareness, I just love talking about it a lot and just bringing it to other people. I think ultimately that's what's going to change the world, is how when we all start accepting that each other, loving ourselves like that unconditionally. But yeah, the next podcast, like I said, it's just going to be me expressing myself freely. Definitely going to bring more taboo subjects. Oh, y'all better hold on. I'm about to get real fucking ignorant. You got to show the other side of me, huh? I hope y'all are ready. And I got amazing fucking gifts. So I used to run a meal prep business. I did it for like 6-7 months. I started it from the ground up. Took ideas from other companies and just one-up them. They had organic vegetables. I got organic vegetables. They had grass-fed beef. I had organic grass-fed beef. But their shit was never organic meat. Like, shout out Trifecta. They're one of the leading organic, non-GMO meal prep businesses. But y'all do not have organic meat. Y'all lied to me. I researched y'all, but I didn't call y'all out. I did actually put on my website that we are the only meal prep service online that was 100% organic. The only downside is that I only had 4 meats. I couldn't get any more. And then, but anyways, I was created some spices as well, and they're really good. I got the fajita spice, and then I have the Nutri-Meal spice, because that's what my business was called, which is really good for like country style cooking. It's good like on turkey. It's good on beef too. I haven't tried it on fish, but it's good on chicken as well. It's really good with chicken actually. And y'all email me your address and I will send you some samples of the spices, free of course. And if you like it, I would appreciate y'all if y'all left me a review on my website. Be like, oh yeah, my website's down for now. Issue was the payment. I already paid, but I used to work for Little Mexico. They didn't pay their part. And then, since we were connected, the same account, they just canceled my account. It really sucks. But yeah, I really want y'all to try these spices. And also shout out to my buddy out in Bishop Arts. He has a spice business. It's called The Natural Spot. He actually sells organic and non-GMO spices, teas, CBD products, and totally forgot to tell him that I had some spices I made. He probably would have kicked me out of his business. The outro. Before I say my outro, I want to thank y'all for listening. I know I just blowered a lot about myself, but I want y'all to understand that whatever, like I said about myself, could also be, like I said, we're a reflection of each other. It's meant for you to reflect on how are you self-aware. How have you been using your self-awareness or your self-consciousness? How has the world affected you in that way? You know what I mean? And when you think about it, I want you to think about it from a third-person point of view. Have zero expectations and zero judgments on the experiences that you experience, on the things that people have done towards you, on the things that you have done towards others. Do not judge yourself. Do not judge others. I know it hurts still. If it hurts, I'm very sorry, but what I'm trying to let y'all know is if you really want to observe, I can't even say that word. If you really want to see yourself from a third person point of view, that's ultimately one of the best guidance that I've used is to go into a meditation or a inner experience by observing everything without judgment. And I think that's really all I got. Like, I don't know what else. And I really want y'all to put this into practice. If you don't, that's cool. But just know that you rewards come with actions. So if you do that, you might be able to experience what I'm talking about, like that feeling of like knowing your self-empowerment. But you have to balance it too. Believe me, like I said, I know I have a strong big ego, but I have to balance it. We all have one. Just sometimes some gets out of little control. So my outro: you are so unconditionally loved that you're allowed to believe that you're not loved at all. What that means, if you've heard the other ones, is that you're allowed to think whatever you want about yourself, about anything. Whether you believe it's true or not, it's always up to you anyways. And the God or the universe is going to be there for you regardless. You have no choice. You really, literally, we have no choice. If you're alive, there's no turning back. You are alive and you deserve to live. And I hope you can bring an impact to the world, positive one, or the one you want. And yeah, thank y'all, loved ones. Have a great day.